What's up, God folks? So I wanted to respond to a sister who shared a video about being a part of a online cult. Now, she said some very important things, but I just wanted to give my thoughts and perspective on that.
Cultish shit. A lot of people look at it like that person that's leading the cult is just so powerful, when really the power, it's not about that this person is so powerful. It's more so the lack of power that the people who follow them have. To get caught up in a cult, you have to have probably the lowest of low self-esteem. Most women who get caught up in online cults have a deep mother wound. I mean, it's past a father wound, but that mother wound as a woman, detrimental. You don't trust your mother, you don't trust your family, and you were always the black sheep of the family. When you were always the outcast of your family, you were always misunderstood, and you went your whole life, questioning why your life ended up the way it is ending or why it's so painful. You're just looking for answers, to be honest. And then you run across a person who seems like they're validating your pain. They're actually giving you gems and wisdom that makes you feel good inside. It makes your body lights up. You get that dopamine hit. You get that dopamine rush of what they're talking about. And then you find yourself addicted to what this person is saying because they are validating you.
She made a lot of good points, and she said a lot of things that I agree with. One of the things specifically is the brainwashing, the people aimlessly moving without being able to think for themselves or not having their own mind. She also went on to talk about how people in these cults, they lose their own inner voice, and that the voice that they have tend to be of the cult leader. So she made a lot of good points that I agree with. Now, what I don't agree with is, I don't agree with her talking about a lot of people that are in these cults she said that they have mother wounds, that they may have parent wounds, that they don't have a lot of power, that they're powerless, that it's not the cult leader or the religious leader, the spiritual leader, if you will, because if we're being honest, when you look up the definition of a cult, it is associated with spirituality or religious people. It goes on to say that, people in these organizations or these groups, that it is based on religious or spiritual beliefs and similarities. So I absolutely agree with the part where she talked about Nature Boy. Nature Boy there was a lot of accusations and a lot of negative things that he was accused of, a lot of negative commentary and things that people said about Nature Boy. And then when we talk about cults, we're talking about control, we're talking about brainwashing, we're talking about people that are doing a lot of things against their own will, such as characters like Charles Manson. I think that groups and situations like that are worthy of being called a cult. But what I don't agree with is her calling certain spiritual online communities cults, because it's almost as if saying that people that gather together for common goals and have common interests or even common spiritual beliefs and practices somewhere or way or another, that it's a cult or is very occultish, which I don't agree with, as far as the brainwashing and the control and people being powerless and not having their own mind. When people come into community together, whether that be in spiritual settings, whether that be in different organizations for, say, whatever common goals, that could be for coming together for the homeless, coming together to help people in poverty, coming together to help the children, or people going out and getting in social settings and community with people so that they can do things that bring them pleasure that may not be the healthiest thing. People get into groups and they come into community for different reasons, for like-minded reasons. So if they already come into community in certain settings because they have similar interests, that's already one thing that I disagree with, because they already, prior to coming into union and groups together, they already had a certain interest, and then they came together with similar interests. And she said that they tend to think alike, and they already have a certain way of thinking or a certain mindset, and then they get controlled by this cult leader, aka spiritual leader, because the spiritual leader is validating them. Well, in society and in human behavior, and when you study social behavior and human connection, how human connection and social development and human development and developing community, that's one of the basic behaviors and one of the basic things that you see. You see that people come together in like spaces, whether I'm going to a jazz spot, whether I'm going to a spot where they're painting, whether I'm going to a spot where they're boxing, or I'm going to a basketball game. People come into community, they come into gathering, they come into groups because they have common interests. Okay, so then she went on to say that, you know, a lot of these people are powerless, and it's a lot of women that are in these groups because, you know, they don't have power, and a lot of them have mommy issues or they have daddy issues. She said that they have mother wounds, and, you know, maybe a lot of them do, but I have come into community with like-minded individuals, and individuals that may be considered religious, and some people that may not be considered religious, but people that are spiritual, people that venerate and acknowledge a higher power, people that believe in God, simply put. But I'm proud to say, and I'm only saying this not because I want to prove something or put anybody in my business or feel the need to have to tell anybody, but I am proud to say that I have a pretty good relationship with my family, and I had a great relationship with my mother, rest her soul, and I have a good relationship with my father too. So, you know, people going into the church, people going into the mosque, people going into different temples, or wherever people choose to commune in community with their fellow man, their brother, their sister, their family, because they have similar interests. I don't think that all of it should be deemed a cult or should be looked at and frowned upon. It shouldn't be looked at negatively, because outside of the things that bring us pleasure, and outside of the things that are considered taboo, things that are considered dark, or what the Christian faith will say, the things that will lead you to a early grave, right? Or all of the, once again, the things that bring us pleasure, you know, in the superficial material world. People are able to gather with their people in places like bars and at different parties and functions and things like that, and they're able to gather that way. But then when people go into different groups or settings and they want to commune with people with like-minded, for whatever reason, a lot of times it's probably people that either grew up that way, or there was something in their life that was the catalyst to usher in that transition. Either people that go into those spiritual settings, religious settings, whatever, what have you, they either were born into that, such as myself, because I have people that were ordained on both sides of my family, on my mother's side and my father's side. So there was already seeds that was planted into myself. There was already a foundation that was set. Or again, people experience some type of adversity, some type of health event, some type of loss. People experience bad things in their life that was a catalyst that ushered in a season of their life where they found spirituality, or where they found, religion or whatever it is, that something that they needed, something that was going to be greater than themselves to help them in the healing process. And we've seen this, right? So as I said, people can go into community and in these different spaces where they can find pleasure and do all of the things that are outside of spirituality. But when people go into community for spiritual reasons, for healing, for reasons of spirituality, or for reasons of healing, people, they frown upon that. And I don't want the message to be manipulated in a way to where people feel as though they should feel bad for being in community with people that are like-minded. Just like people go in different places to get the things to obtain their vices. When people go in different places because they want to turn up, or because they want to do things that are feeding, as the religious faiths teach, feeding the flesh, or because they are running after things that are stroking that are fulfilling their pleasure and fulfilling their desires of pleasure. People can do that. And then when people want to do quite the opposite for different reasons, people want to frown upon that, and they want to say that it's a cult. It's very manipulative. And then she went on to say that people will defend people in the cults. Yeah, people will defend people in the cults. I'll tell you what I defend. I defend righteousness. I defend what's right. I have been drawn to, and I have been magnetized to people in the community that look like me, melanated people, and even non-melanated people, but a lot of melanated people that are like-minded, that love to talk about spirituality, people that love to talk about metaphysics, people that love to talk about the deep sciences, the intellectual things, just all of the things that are taboo or was weird back when, and the things that are not commonly talked about. And I am in such appreciation for those type of spaces, especially when we talk about, the time when we talk about 2020 and then beyond, when people were in isolation, and when people were, where people don't want to talk about, where a lot of people was losing their shit because they had to stay at home, because they didn't really have community and they didn't really have nowhere to go. And then you go online and then you find all of these different communities, and it's like, whoa, wait a minute. So I'm not a weirdo. You mean to tell me that you're interested in metaphysics? You're interested in quantum physics? You mean to tell me that you're interested also in the law of attraction? You mean to tell me that you're also interested in African spirituality and veneration of the ancestors, and not frowning up on our ancestors and deeming everything demonic because you're not brainwashed like everybody else? Speaking of brainwash, excuse me, don't get me started, because now I'm about to get passionate and I'm about to start preaching. So, I appreciate those people that I have connected with over the years, and those spaces that I was able to be in. And, for people that are actually in cults and are deeply brainwashed, that need help because you can tell that there's something deeply wrong, where there's a disconnect. There was a difference between somebody that she mentioned something about the outside, and she kept going like this, like the outside. Oh, the outsiders, meaning that the people who live this superficiality and this way that is leading them to a fast track to the grave. Once again, I'm not trying to preach, but I'm just gonna keep it absolutely 100 and be honest about it, right? So because you decide that you don't want to deal with certain people that she calls the outsiders, right? No, you don't want to deal with certain people, because what it is called, darling, it is called you evolving out of certain behaviors, certain patterns. You have evolved out of a certain lifestyle, and you don't have the patience for certain things, or you just don't resonate with certain lifestyles. Some people grow up, some people evolve, some people mature, right? And it's all on their timing. What I do is specific to my path and the will that God has for my life. But what I do, I don't talk about it everywhere and then try to preach what I do to everybody else, because what works for me may not work for everybody else. And what works for everybody else may not work for me. But it is a blessing to be in community with people that have that are like-minded, so that in community, building community and social development and everything that complements our humanness and our human connection. It's a blessing to know that there are other humans and there are other people in the world that think like you. And that's not defending my peers or the people that I feel that I'm in community with or that I am associated with, or even people that are considered leaders. I want to say this as well. We need to stop undermining the need for leadership, because even though I feel as though I am a leader, have leadership qualities, even in my age, some may consider me mid-age, and with all of the knowledge and the wisdom that I have in my life experiences and everything, I genuinely thank God for the people that are older than me, or those that have wisdom and those that have leadership qualities that are willing to offer gems or insights here and there, or someone that can exemplify positive leadership. The world needs positive leadership. So when we're talking about, people in these cults and what the definition of a cult is as far as religious places and spaces and things like that, it's like, let's not frown upon people in these communities that have the intent to try to raise a generation, to try to help people to break the generational curses. Because, she say that people are broken. I'm not talking about the ones that people are broken and people are taking advantage of them. But there are a lot of broken people in the world. And sometimes that religious space that's not compromised, or that spiritual space that is not compromised, that is actually working to heal and raise people, it's a blessing in disguise. And if you're tapped in like myself and you pay attention to the signs, and sometimes you just have basic common sense, it's not even a blessing in disguise. It's right there, right in your face. It's very much a blessing. So if people are the black sheep, as she said, if they are being ostracized from their family, if they have mother wounds, and these are so powerless people and broken individuals, and they are in these communities, well, it's nice to show, to talk about the signs and the things to look for in communities and places like that. But then it's like, are you even going to pray for them, right? But for the people that are in these communities, they are doing well and they are thriving, and they have the relationships with the community, and they have relationships with their family. They should be encouraged to stay on the right path and keep doing the right thing, because some people step out of the negative things, the negative lifestyle, the toxicities, the trauma bonding, and all of that. A lot of times, people, they separate themselves from what she called the outsiders, because it's a lot of things that are attached to a past version of people who have evolved, especially spiritually. There are ways that people are still operating in, and they can evolve on their own time. That's between them and God. But there are ways that people operate, and they're still doing some of the same things that some people they don't resonate with it anymore. And there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that somebody has brainwashed them, hypnotized them, or got a control over their mind. Some of us just got tired of the toxicity. And let me say this, plainly put, and say it real raw. Some of us just got tired of the bullshit. So when you can't resonate because people are not evolving, and you get tired of the bullshit. So again, when you get tired of the toxicity or the BS, or you have greater goals in mind for yourself, for your family, for your progeny, for your children, then you tend to change your circle. You tend to change the people that you associate yourself with. And a lot of people that are on this path or have done this, and I'm not going to be the first, or the people that I associate myself with, or share time and space energy with every now and then or whatever. We're not the first. We're certainly not going to be the last. It's just a part of human evolution. People grow up, and there's nothing wrong with that. Actually, it's normal human behavior. It's called being an adult. It's called, sometimes people go through spiritual awakenings. It's called wanting more for yourself. It's called being in community with people that think like you, that want the same things as you. Being in community with people that have the same similar goals as you. We should never frown upon anyone, especially if they're not corrupt or they're not on no BS or pettiness. We should never frown upon anyone that is trying to help, to raise, to develop, to help heal their fellow man or woman. We should never do that. And like I said, we're not talking about Nature Boy. We're not talking about Charles Manson, where people are getting hurt, or people are dying, or people are falling deadly ill. No. And again, it's not about defending the leader of these churches or religious communities or spiritual communities. It's about shining light on truth, love, and righteousness. It's about defending righteousness. That's what it's about, But if people are suffering in their communities, if they're suffering in their communities because they're being brainwashed, they're being controlled, they're being coerced, they're being held against their will, there's crime that's taking place, that's a whole nother topic. And then we could talk about cults, and we can have a conversation and talk about the negative things that she's trying to bring to light, and the cautions and the warnings that she's trying to share. Then we could talk about that. But if it is pure righteousness and it's healthy, what we need to do is be encouraging more of that, so that we can continue to evolve our community, and so that we can continue to build our communities. And then we can reach and help other people as well. So I hope that, I my message across, and I hope that, this serves somebody well. Before I end this video, people that know me well, they know that I am a diehard Pac fan, right? I love Tupac. So for the people out there that are in transition, whether you're going through a spiritual awakening for whatever reason, that life was the catalyst and whatever encouraged your spiritual awakening, or if you, like me, was raised under the guidance of people that were religious, considered religious, or people that were in the church, it is nothing to be ashamed of. Sometimes this path can be very challenging because it can be lonely. It can be challenging trying to stay spiritually grounded and to stay disciplined. That's a big word, to stay disciplined. Living in a superficial world that is constantly promoting all of the toxic things. And then for those that are transitioning and changing their life, that is literally trying to come out of whatever toxicity or whatever old patterns and things, just like Pac said, I ain't mad at you. And if you tap into the song, it's Tupac, I ain't mad at you. And if you tapped in and then you know. Anyway, I hope this message feeds somebody well, and stay focused, stay powerful, stay grounded, stay in God, stay in love. Ashe.